just returning from Israel 2 weeks ago. So they all say shalom. But we start with a thank God for allowing us to be here and all of the wondrous things that he has bestowed upon us. It has been my awesome task to stand and give, not direction, but we want to stop and give thanks to God for all that he's done for each and what a beautiful group of people. We got bald-headed people, got full-haired people, we got all kind of people. Isn't God a wonderful God? I just have to say that because I believe what I say. So let us just bow our heads just a moment and thank him for his benefits, for life, for his breath, for his spirit, for our families, our communities, our gathering together. Realize that we can unify ourselves with one spirit, and it comes from on high. And it comes down and encompasses all of us in peace, love towards one another. And Lord, for this facilities that you have prepared in this community, thank you. It's your doing, so we thank God for the servant, Pastor Binion, that he chose to be the head of this beautiful facility that we can come together and do the work. Thank you for our city and all of the workers in the city and servants to make these things happen. Not a one of us could do it ourselves, but it's by your power, by your strength, we're here. Now let your peace reign in us, Lord, as we come together in this holy place to do a work that's pleasing to you throughout this entire community. No amount of money, Lord, will do this for us, but we ask you, whatever the necessities are, you have provided, and we are thankful. So it's important I finish the prayer. Thank you, Lord. Listen, welcome each and every one of you to this facility at this time, and we pray that each one of us, whatever our needs are, answers, some of the answers will come today. So I'm not going to belay a lot of time, but if you have need the conveniences in this building, as you go out the door to your left, you'll find the places that will relieve you and rest you in whatever need you might need. Listen, we are blessed today, and I don't know if it's my task, but we have the city councilman, and to me is new because he must have came through while I was out the country, Councilman McGill Arias. We're going to welcome him, and we're going to invite him to District 3, and poor fella, as he received that covering, he becomes the chairman of the TCC, and he'd be the head of this organization, taking us to a higher heights to where we need to be. Let's give him a hand as we welcome him today.
The men of God always set very high expectation for all of us. So thank you for the reminder of our great responsibility, burden, and opportunity to move this community forward. Before we get started, I just wanted to remind everyone a couple of housekeeping rules. As we're having these conversations today, please remember to speak to the mic. We're actually recording this so we can broadcast on CMAC. So if you're not in a microphone, you won't be heard by the rest of the public. So please, as we go through the process, make sure you have a mic in front of you as you're communicating with the rest of us. Today, my role is pretty simple. It's just to officially welcome all of you to this conversation. As you know, our council officially took action in approving the TCC agreements a couple weeks ago, beginning the official clock for all of us. It means that we have 5 years from the point of us signing the agreements to receive the funds to completely execute the work. So the official time clock will start to count down when we sign those documents. I understand it's later this month. And to reinforce that, I actually purchased a countdown clock that will be hung in my office. Every time anybody comes into my office, they will see firsthand how much more time we have so that our collective work can be kept on track and make sure it moves along. So no pressure, State Center or anybody else, but we will stay on track. Our council will also be taking up an item later this month that helps facilitate some of this work related to impact fees and public investments that the city has to make these projects viable across the TCC area. My second task, besides welcoming you in, is also to introduce some of the community and outreach members who are here today. And those include Barbara Wilson, representing the Chinatown area. Welcome, Ms. Wilson. Ivanka Saunders, representing West Fresno. I think she could be with us today. Jordan Sanchez from downtown. Welcome, Jordan. And one of our facilitators today is out sick, Sabrina Cowley from the Southwest Development Corporation. So thank her, and we wish her a better recovery as she recovers from being ill out today. I do want to leave you with this message. As the chair of the Oversight and Outreach Committee, I'm going to take my task very seriously. And if any of you have seen us in council lately, we tend to stay on task, make sure things are moving along, and that the return on investment that the state and Fresno has made in this project comes to fruition. So on behalf of the Outreach Committee, we're here to help you. Please articulate, voice the needs that you have from staff, from the city, from the state, so that we all remain on task and on time. We're gonna do our best to communicate so everybody knows exactly what the benchmarks are, what the timelines are, what supports are available. I'm sure we'll falter, and we'll have to get back up as a collective and make sure we are clear about any additional supports that we as a city or the state can give each of your organizations as we expect the execution of this project. So again, thank you, and remember, there's no pressure, but we got 5 years. Who's next? There you go, the sunshine of the day.
Oh, thank you. So I'm actually filling in for Sabrina because she's ill. So she was going to, and now I am going to, in the inside cover of your first page is a code of conduct. Now, we actually, we put this together based on what we saw in the last 2 or 3 community meetings. It's been really productive, our conversations. Not that everyone agreed on things, and there weren't some conflict things that that came up that we addressed, but we were really proud of the engagement that we had. So we thought about the last few meetings, and we actually came up with these bullet points, and this is how we kind of lived it out the last few meetings. So we want to maintain that, and it really comes down to respect. We respect everyone's perspective. We might not agree with everyone else on certain topics, but we respect their perspective, and we know that we will listen to them, they will listen to our perspective, and if there is conflict, sometimes we have to make sure that we address it later on because we can't take care of everything tonight. So that's really a summary of these notes. So we want to thank you guys for just having wonderful civil discourse, even when we don't agree. So we want to make sure that we hear everyone's perspective, and we want to hear it clearly. And later on, when we talk about questions that weren't answered, we're going to have a dialogue about that towards the back end of the meeting. So I am going to hand it over to Jordan, and she is going to take us to the next phase.
All right, so we are talking about the master grant agreement and the sub-agreements, and that is going to, one, I know many of your faces were at City Hall when the master grant agreement was voted on. It was unanimously passed, so the clock has started ticking, like we discussed earlier, and so that was a big success. You know, we had a great vote from the community. I was there when we all voted almost unanimously to pass the proposal plan that was put forward, and now the City Council has put their stamp of approval on it as well. So that segues right into this document, which is going to show the projects that are ready, and then all of the projects that are not necessarily ready and what their outstanding items are. So we can take a moment to look at that. As you can see, We have about 6 projects that are ready to go. Of the remaining projects that we're still waiting on, you'll see outlined in detail here what they're looking for, what they need still, the cost for readiness, and the actual items that they need to get ready. The CEQA, which I found out is an environmental plan. I didn't know that in our last meeting, so I asked that question for all of you, just in case anyone else didn't know. But yeah, that was this one. So I wanted to make sure everyone had that in front of them and see if there were any questions relating to this second page that we have here. Nailed it. Okay, sounds good. The next portion that we're going to do are the actual heart of the meeting, the project updates from the partners. So we've done this in the past where we've had the project come up. We, as a oversight committee, took feedback that we got from all the questions from the community and then from our group meetings as well. And we asked all of the partners to touch on some of the things that are on the board here. In relation to time, we're looking for about a quick update from these partners so that we can get through everyone and get everyone out of here in the fashion that we've promised on the agenda. And so we're going to start with bringing up the first person, which would be Project 2, and then we'll have Project 12 on deck so that we can kind of speed through this. And then we hope that, if there's anything pressing, feel free to ask the question, but we can also save questions for the end. And all of you have comment cards and question cards on the table. So if there's something you feel you can write down for a specific project, there is a packet in here that shows all of those questions. They get answered and addressed after every meeting. So that's where we'll go. And so if we could get project number 2, that's the Fresno Housing Authority, a representative. Are you going to go in? Yeah, absolutely. So we'll start with number 12, which is Fresno Economic Opportunities Commission. Do we have a representative from them? Yeah. And then we'll have Project 13 on deck, so if you want to start heading down. You're doing both of them?
We're project number 2, I think, right? The new project number?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was looking at former project number. My apologies. So project number 2.
Yeah. My name is Matt Contrastano, Energy Services Manager at Fresno EOC. And our project's ready to go as soon as the sub-agreement has been signed. So, any questions or?
Anything on the ready? Do you have any workforce or community engagement aspect?
We are plan on doing 5 outreaches in the next couple months, and start sending local hires to Sun Power trainings for the solar side of it.
And you'll be posting for those job openings?
Yes, we will be.
Great. Okay.
Any questions or?
When you say local hires, what do you mean by local? Can you be more specific?
In the 93706 area code. We will be using the local conservation corps, and also we are partnered with Govon Construction. The corps. They're going to be doing some outreaches too within the community. They can't hear their
We
question.
have a mic for the audience?
We have a microphone here and then a microphone where Artie's at. So if we could just have people,
Could you repeat what the question was?
they're on a cord, so they might be a little bit tough to get to.
Yes.
Test.
Sir, do you mind repeating the question for everyone that couldn't hear? Yeah, there we go.
I just wanted to know who was doing the work and how are you contracting and getting the corps that you said you was have all of them that's working on? Well, I can't speak no louder. So I wanted to know about who in the corps, how you guys contracted, who's going to be doing the contract, and the workers that you said the corps, are they picked out of this community or are they picked out?
Yes, they will be. They're going to target the 93706 and see who's interested, and they're going to be posting flyers up at churches, and they're doing their own outreaches too.
And how many employees are you looking to hire for this project?
I believe they're going to hire between around 5 or 6, possibly 8, so that there'll be 2 crews of 4 under a supervisor through the Corps.
I'm pretty loud so you can hear me. You said you're gonna start the outreach. How are you gonna do that? Are you gonna be sending letters out to the community or what? I don't understand.
Well, the camera needs, the camera needs it.
How are you gonna do your outreach and when is it gonna start? Are you gonna send letters or contacting people in the community? How are you gonna do that?
I believe we have an outreach team at Fresno EOC, and I believe they're going to be contacting churches and then also doing some events that are already on the calendar in the local area for 93706.
ELC's calendar?
No, the community. I guess there's stuff that's already been out in the community that's coming up for events.
So for clarification, is there a way?
Yeah, I can get answers.
I was looking at one of the sheets, and it says that this is one of the projects that's ready to go before the workforce development plan is created. So I think my question more so revolves around, like, why aren't we waiting for the workforce development plan to use that as a model before we start, you know, the whole project as a whole, to ensure that community members are the ones getting those jobs through that plan?
I'm not sure how to answer that.
That's for us to take in. We'll figure out an answer.
Okay.
Thank you. Sorry.
My question is before you guys approved all of this, why didn't you come to the community first? That's what I want to know. I want an answer to that. Why was the community not aware of this before you did all of this? I'm not talking about the steering committee. I'm not talking about the groups that they set up. I'm talking about the community itself. Because a lot of community people didn't know anything about your solar and stuff that you're doing. I want to know why it is that the community as a whole didn't know. And that'll probably be my question for everybody that stands up there. So we would really like to know why the community was not involved with that. Like I say, not the steering committee, not the committee that was voted, or however they got into being that. I want to know why it is the community as a whole, 93706, did not know anything about this, period. So that's my question.
I don't know how to answer that either. I mean, we submitted a proposal, and I mean, that's something maybe for H. I mean, I don't know.
So all projects you're going to hear about tonight were a part of a very lengthy process that included major community meetings, but also workshops, where this project and every single one of the projects that we have on the board here were shared with the whole community. So just remember that you're not seeing anything new here tonight. All of these projects have been vetted by a lengthy community process that we can all be proud of. And if you have any questions specifically about, well, I guess we got a loose cord here. If you have any questions specifically for EOC, and these are great questions, especially the ones about jobs, and remind me of your name. Matt. If you want to talk about jobs to Matt, make sure to grab him, get his information. If you want to distribute information about the jobs that Matt is going to be offering in this project, feel free to communicate that to your community groups, your PTAs, your churches, because they have a community process that they're going to do to outreach, but you are a part of that, and you can share that, and other projects can share about these employment opportunities in 93706 with all your friends and neighbors.
Great, thank you. All right.
I had a follow-up comment for H. There was a talk about having a website for all the TCC projects. Do you have any updates on that? And maybe you can give us an idea of how that might look like?
So the TCC website is Transform Fresno, and all of the information that we've had to date is on there, and all of the and information about each project is on there. So take a look at that website. As projects roll out, projects will have an opportunity to upload information on their own project websites, but also on the TCC Transform Fresno website.
Okay, great. So our next one will be project number 3, and that's grid alternatives. These are the new numbers here. See, new project numbers. I just found that out too. You're welcome.
Hi, everybody. This is Luna. I'm from the project 3 and 4, grid alternatives, grid solar collaboratives for solar. We have 2 components, which is 3 and 4, which is multifamily and single families. We are ready to go, and as soon as the MGA gets signed, we will pursue the projects. We have 2 projects for single family identified already from our existing outreach efforts we have within our organization. Also, we are partnering with Housing Authority, who gave us 5 multifamily sites, which is also ready to go. We also have here with us our development officer, Jesse Arikin, and also we have collaborative partners, which is Stone Soup Fresno. We have Chia Wu, and also from the Fresno Center, we have, did I say Fresno Center twice? Sorry. So Stone Soup Fresno and the Fresno Center, we have Pao Hua. My colleague Chang here, he will share a little bit more about how you can get involved with our project.
Hi, I have a sheet here for anyone when we have some free time to come up and go ahead and put just contact information for any of our, basically we're going to have events coming up that community members come out to get educated on our program, and also if there's anyone who's interested in volunteering for any of the projects as well and get job training, we'll have this available for you to sign, and we'll reach out to you once we start canvassing and doing our outreach opportunities. And also when we do our first installation for our single family home, that's going to be an event where we're going to have as many people available to come out and support us as possible, just to get the word out there that we have these installations going on for that we'll have people who are eligible for it. Sorry. Yeah. Did anybody have any questions? Yes.
I'm sorry, I'm new to all this because I'm just now hearing about this.
Yeah.
And I just want to understand, now, how many single families are you picking, and what list is you picking from? And what is this relevant to West Fresno? Because I'm just still trying to understand all this, because I'm trying to understand why Edison High School doesn't have a football field, why they don't have another basketball court. This stuff really, it doesn't help this community here. So I need to hear about some things that's going to help this community here, and I'm not hearing anything by now. So that's what I need to hear. I mean, you guys kind of like, I mean, maybe to some of you guys it did snuck this under the rug, and I really don't understand where this is going. I really don't, because I mean, it's a lot of people here, West Fresno, that don't know anything about this, nothing whatsoever. So I just need to know your question. My question to you is, how many families, and how do you pick these families from the West Fresno? Because I mean, there's a lot of single families here in West Fresno. There's a lot of families that need help, but I'm just trying to understand, how does this help this community?
Okay. Yeah, no, thank you for the question. I do know this is new. We're working with, it's going to be 60, right? 60 single-family installations. And did you want to elaborate on that one?
We are partnered with, as I just introduced, the Stone Soup Fresno and the Fresno Center. They will be helping us to do the outreach. We have inbuilt outreach people in our team too, which we are doing. This is Grid Alternative, so we are already a nonprofit solar company who helps low-income families. So we have already pipelined this focus to the single families we are talking about. They're only to this area where the TCC money is going to be. So, and we will be doing door-to-door canvassing with our partners.
If I may. What would be very helpful, sir, is on page 2 is a description of each of these projects, and you can see it's a little weird. There's a former project number and a new project number. We just had to change the numbers, but it's the same exact project. So in the second column, where you see new project number 2 and 3 are the 2 projects, and they detail how many families and where the families are going to be, and what kind of income levels they're going to have for these 2 projects. And specifically on Edison High School, we're actually in the process of building a second gym for Edison and a performance theater for Edison High School. So those things are actually being designed as we speak by Fresno Unified School District, and those would be the 2 new construction projects that were approved in the last bond. So Edison High School will be getting those 2 new things. No football field is planned. Yeah.
They spend a lot of money every year,
Yeah.
written out to go play somewhere
I
else.
understand. So I can talk to you about this on the side. I worked for Fresno Unified for a decade, and I can briefly tell you that we only have 2 stadiums in the whole district for 110 schools. Stadiums are extremely expensive, very difficult to build. In West Fresno, it makes it a little more difficult because we're under the flight pattern of the 2 airports that are near us, so it's very difficult to build a stadium here, but that has been discussed over the years. What the community chose in the last bond was to build a second gym and a new performance theater, plus the last academic building that they just built on Edison's campus, in addition to a new middle school in Gaston Middle School. So Gaston was built, I want to say 5 years ago. The bond was passed in 2016. It went to all the voters. We had community meetings in every single part of the district, including Edison. We allowed the community to prioritize what projects would be funded first. The community prioritized a second gymnasium and a performance arts theater, because Edison High School doesn't have a theater where the musician and the music and arts can be performed at. Okay, thank you.
Miguel, while you're up, could I ask you one question?
Depends.
Well, I think what's going to keep coming up is you have on there, what are you doing to include workforce and community engagement, which I think each individual project is going to be asked. However, the committee hasn't established what those guidelines are. So to not be repetitive and have everybody asking the same questions, I think it would make sense if you address that or H address that, because I think they don't have direction on each project because you guys haven't identified what are guidelines for workforce labor agreement, what are guidelines for community engagement, and what are guidelines for anti-displacement. So those 3 things,
Thanks.
I think, before we get started,
H,
need to
we can have you address that. We did discuss that in the committee, and what I can tell you briefly, and H, you can correct me, is that each provider, each recipient of money was supposed to develop their own plan in addition to us developing our overall strategy and plans. So the expectation is every single project would look to hire local, every single project would look to do outreach, every single project would communicate out to the community in large. In addition, we're in the process of hiring a consultant to develop an overall plan for the whole group. Is that accurate?
So you're leaving that to each individual group to establish their own. There isn't a TCC guideline that you've established for them to use?
So on your agenda tonight, Barbara Wilson, a member of our Outreach and Oversight Committee, is actually going to be talking about the 3 transformative plans. Those are going to be developed over the next 3 months. One is community engagement, one is workforce development, and one is displacement avoidance.
So that'll be in place before any projects move forward?
No, There is some question about, and maybe what we could do is, let's hold that good question until Barbara gets up, because I want to address that, because each of those types of transformative plans have different requirements. And we will meet them all, and they'll all be met in the next 3 months. 3 months from the time that the contract is finally signed, which will be the end of this month. Great question, though. Let's hold that for Barbara, if you don't mind. Okay, great.
And then we did have a question in regards to grid alternatives, specifically like how you can qualify as a single home. For that, where that's going to be posted. I know you said you have partnered. So next meeting, we would like to have answers on specifically where those people can find those resources, or either relay that to the cities so that those can be posted with the questions. And who's in charge of the selection, just more clarity and transparency on what that looks like and how Southwest Fresno residents can qualify and get involved. Thank you. Okay, so we did that. And then City of Fresno, the Southwest Fresno Trail, we're going to talk.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Scott Tyler. Work for the City of Fresno. I'm a Public Works Manager here for the Southwest Fresno Trail. It's between West and Thorn Avenue along the south side of Fanning Ditch. These readiness requirements for these are, we have to have the environmental complete first, which is CEQA, and then we have to have access control for the parcels that we'll be acquiring for the trail. And I believe most of that is owned by the Housing Authority as well. For our finances, I think we're pretty much ready. We're coming up on our budget season of adopting a budget, and that will be going to council, I believe, in June. City Council to hear all of citywide budget, but including additional numbers. Our fiscal year goes from July 1st to June 30th, and all right. For help, I have specific project managers that I manage, and I'll have a number of these projects. For each one of these, I'll be assigning a project manager for each one of the projects that I have. So for help, right now, I think we're good. And I believe on this, the Southwest Fresno Trail, U.S. Green Building Council is helping with our community engagement. Yes.
Yeah, I have a question. When you're talking about this canal, and you say from West to Thorn, could you be a little bit more specific? Because that's in my neighborhood, so I want to know exactly where it is.
So
and what property are you guys talking about having to acquire?
The housing authority has all the property along the south side or along the ditch. Part of it's piped, so it would be at California and West, and then go along the ditch to where it connects to Thorn. So it's Thorn, south of California.
Okay. All right, so we'll bring up the Chinatown urban greening. Oh, yes.
All right, what type of lighting, what type of street lighting? Is it going to be solar or what?
We have trail lighting. We're still working on developing a standard for our trail lighting. That would be an LED type, so it would be an energy efficient. So, all right.
Thank you. The Chinatown urban greening. Project number 6. There you go. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Scott Seam, also with Public Works Manager. I am, my team as of right now is responsible for managing the Chinatown urban greening.
Scott, could I interrupt you for just a second?
Yes, sir.
That you looked around like it might have been God speaking to you, but it's just because the key to these mics, everybody, is to treat them like an ice cream cone and get them right up to your bottom lip. Okay? All right. Great.
I'll try it. We have our project is funded 100% by TCC, and as far as readiness goes, we're ready. We have CEQA, the CEQA process to go through, and as soon as we get our funding in place and the contract signed, we will do that. And once CEQA is completed, we will go straight into design on the project. We met with the Chinatown Fresno Foundation last month, and we will be relying on them heavily for outreach to the community, for design guidance for whatever amenities we can incorporate into the project that may have been maybe vague in the grant, I'm not sure. But the project does include trees along F Street, along Kern, and along Mariposa, and new street lighting along F Street between Fresno and Ventura. So I don't know if I hit all of the topics here. I think that's it. Any questions? Yes, sir.
How many employees are you planning on hiring for this project? And are you guys training them and they have a set training?
No,
Or
this project would be consulted out. It would be bid out to a contractor.
So it won't be from West Fresno, so it'll be out from somewhere else? Because I thought it was about keeping everything West Fresno. I mean, I thought this whole project was about keeping everything West Fresno. I'm not hearing anything. I hear crickets right now.
No, my project, I don't know about the rest of them. My project.
This is all a West Fresno
It is,
project,
this
right?
project is in West Fresno. It's
Right.
Chinatown.
So I'm saying, being that it's a West Fresno project, people should be trained here in West Fresno to do these jobs, not outsourced to someone else to come do it.
Well, I presumably there could be forces that hire from within Chinatown, but the general contractor would have to be licensed, and it's up to them who they hire.
So was, Councilman, wouldn't this about employing West Fresno people?
It's about employing the whole project area, it's not just West Fresno, the whole project area for TCC. So the TCC area encompasses West Fresno, downtown, and Chinatown. Any other questions?
All right. So now the Clean Mobility Network with the Fresno Black Chamber of Commerce. Thank you for being right on deck.
All right, hi everyone. My name is Kaya Heron. I'm the Government Affairs Liaison for the Fresno Metro Black Chamber of Commerce. Everybody just turned and snapped their heads, which means everyone can hear me, so yes. All right, doing better than everybody else so far. So I had to write everything down to make sure that I answered all of your questions. Please forgive me if I don't give you a complete answer. I will do my absolute best to make sure that I'm doing it properly. And if you have anything that you need me to elaborate on, please raise your hand and I'll get to it. So first of all, we are ready. As you saw in the first handout that we looked at, the project number 7, I think that's our new number. Our old number was 19, which is what stuck in my head. But we are ready and we are engaged in allowable pre-construction, which includes site selection for our EVSE, which is our electrical vehicle charging infrastructure. And in that, we are doing site selection, which also includes CEQA and permitting. And so we are in discussions to figure out if there's any way to expedite either of those processes to make sure that our project continues to move forward on timeline. Next, we have our financial instrument. It has not changed. It's the same as it was presented in our package, and it's still available to us upon implementation. Next, what kind of help do you need? We'd really like community engagement, feedback along the way as we continue to do our work. We haven't reached that step yet because we're still looking to the plan that's going to be developed by the city with guidelines and guidance from SGC. But once that is completely developed, including the feedback that we're going to get tonight, we'd be looking forward to connecting with the community and taking in as much information as we possibly can. We are also at the current time designing our website. I think that's the last question. Yep. So we're designing our website with our current point of contact being Tara Lynn Gray. She's our CEO. I'm not Tara, clearly, but she is our point of contact. And we are developing a website that will be regularly updated throughout the length of the project. And we're looking to find another communication strategy, not just the website, but try to engage and be interactive with the information as it comes forth. So I hope I answered all the questions. And if you have anything for me, please raise your hand. Hi, Matthew.
Hello, Kaya. I'm Matthew Gillian of Inspiration Transportation. I believe that I'm a part of this project, but as I look at the description here, my focus with Inspiration Transportation is non-emergency medical transportation, facilitating rides for senior facilities, dialysis facilities, and whatnot. I don't see any mention of that in this description here, so I'm wondering if I was kicked out and just trying to figure out how I'm moving forward within this project.
Well, Matthew, you're not asking me a question. You're presenting
Yes, was
me
I
with
kicked
a
out
state
of the group?
facts that I'm not able to answer. So I appreciate you picking up the microphone and asking the question,
Yes.
but I can't answer that.
The question is, was I kicked out of the group?
Again, I say I cannot answer that,
So-
but thank you.
Who can answer that question?
As I stated, our point of contact for the program is Tara Lynn Gray, and
She
she's
hasn't
the
been at
person that
any
you'd
of
be
these
able to
meetings,
answer.
though, so can I phrase that question to H? It is. It's actually referenced in this batch of comments because I made it last meeting when Tara also wasn't here. So
Can you ask that on the mic, please?
So then has your original structure for financing changed if there has been a group that's out?
No, our original structure for financing has not changed.
And so the projects that we selected, because I'm part of the board that selected it as well, Oversight Committee, the ones that we selected are still in your group?
So at the present time, the organization of the project and what was outlined in our agreement is still the same. And if you look at the master agreement that was recently signed, all of the documents that were approved are still the same.
So to follow up with that, when Mrs. Curry asked at the last meeting, as well as in an Oversight Committee meeting, which I'm not sure if you were present or not,
I was
if
not.
our group structure had changed, if I'm kicked out of the group, presumably that answer would be yes. Even though the money hasn't changed, the group structure has changed. So I'll ask that question again to the person I'm supposed to ask it to, but I wanted to make sure it was clearly asked for the video camera.
I appreciate it, so thank you. Are there any other questions? Thank you.
All right, active transportation project, number 8, the Annandale mode shift. Do we have a representative? All right, we'll keep moving along then. If they can go to the end if they join later. So this will be the Mariposa Plaza.
Scott Tyler, City of Fresno Public Works. For this part, we're ready to go. We're waiting for the agreement to be signed with the state and kick this project off. We are just kind of a little bit of brief overview. Our project managers work with or hire consultants to do the design for this project. So that would be one of the first things we would do once the project gets kicked off, is hiring a consultant, local engineering firm that would do most of the plans for this project. And I think we're ready for financing portion of it, and we have all the staff in place ready to go. Number 9, correct.
So for the former project number is here, and then the third column is the new project number. So that's what we're going off tonight. Do you have a question?
I don't know if this cable will reach all the way.
My name is Leroy Candler. I live at 2909 East Gilbert, Fresno, California, 93721. My question is your jobs, is it prevailing wage or are they union jobs? And if so, what is going to be the process for people that's from 93706 and 93721 to have an opportunity at these jobs? Or are you going to come in and then take the jobs and the money and leave to go somewhere else? I'd like to have an answer to that question.
There are 2 parts to this. One is the initial part for the design. That's typically with consultants, engineering consultants, and they do not get paid a prevailing wage. But in the construction aspect of it, the city does pay prevailing wage on the construction. That's a requirement by the state. So, and then I think there would be I believe there's some language going to be inserted that in our contracts that contractors have to hire local.
Oh, that's great then.
Yeah.
So it means that people will have an opportunity to apply for these jobs to some trade one way or another.
That's my understanding, correct?
Thank you.
If I may, to your concerns, Leroy, and to your concerns, this is going to be follow-up for me personally with the mayor and staff on the projects that are being done by the city of Fresno. We typically just subcontract out to the lowest bidder for construction jobs, sidewalks, trees, that kind of stuff. I'm going to take this back and see whether we can contract specifically with contractors that serve this area and that will hire this area specifically versus doing it the normal way where we just contract it out to whoever bids. Does that make sense? So that's my follow-up for today from these conversations.
Okay, where are we at? Project number 10, from Early Readers.
Hello, Tate Hill from Early Readers Preschool, which is on the site of Bethel Temple Church at 1224 Kern Street. We are planning to construct a toddler park. Right now, we're waiting for a response from SGC. They're requesting a health risk assessment for us to continue the project, which we're waiting to get information from them as far as what that actually is. They're asking us for us just to do some air monitoring, which is the whole purpose of why we're getting this grant. We know that the air quality is bad, but we have to do a health risk assessment at that site. Our plan is to, as we have done with other projects, to hire contractors, workers that actually live in Southwest Fresno. That's been our model for all the project-related activities that we've done there on our site. And so if there are particularly small local contractors in West Fresno and the project area, feel free to get in contact with us as we move forward. But we'll be having that information out as far as grading, landscaping, and so forth. That'll be available through that particular project. And so we welcome those opportunities for employment and contracting opportunities. The part that we would like help from the city or from the community. We're still, again, trying to get answers from SGC as far as the health risk assessment. We've been trying to get those answers, I think, since November. It's now March, and we haven't gotten that. And that's the only thing that's holding up our project from being finalized for the part of the agreement. And who is our point of contact? It's Paul Hill. He could not be here today, but I'm filling in for him. And we're more than open to hear from anyone if they have questions about the project or things that they think that can enhance the project. Just as you note in your piece, again, this is going to be a toddler park. We'll actually be doing the maintenance and security of it. One of the things that we heard when we actually went out and talked to people in the community, residents near our location, they wanted to make sure that the park was going to be clean, that it was going to have good security and lighting, especially for the age range that we're going to be focusing on, targeting 2 to 5-year-olds. And so we know that there hasn't always been a good history of park maintenance here in our city, and so we wanted to take this investment, but also willing to make sure that we maintain the facility. Any questions? Yes.
Hi, Tate. My question is this. You're talking about you need a health risk assessment because of the air quality. And is it my understanding that there was an air quality program going on, but for whatever reason, the city opted not to do it in Southwest Fresno and is doing it in the area where they're building all the new factories? And so the question is if they can do that, why can't they do that for your project right here in Southwest? Because that's where the money is supposed to be spent anyway.
That's a great question. City? I didn't even have to ask that. That's a great question. And we also were told that we couldn't use any of the project budget to do that assessment, and it could cost upwards to $5,000. Our budget for the whole project is only $60,000, and so, or actually, $59,199, and so. So we're hoping that we can actually get some assistance. We've had some conversations with the Fresno Metro Black Chamber, who's doing a project around the purple air sensor, and so we're hoping that might be an option for us. Laura, I just sent you an email. With some information about the purple air sensor project with the chamber, and so. If there's a way we can see if SGC will accept that, that would be great.
So just to answer the questions, the city is awaiting SGC's approval. This is something that the city, unfortunately, we've asked at our last meeting. We meet with them on a weekly basis. We're going to bring it up again with them on the question that you had about the purple air indicator, the purple sensor, or however. I did see your email. But at the end of the day, it's an SGC approval that's required, and we'll do our best to continue to support your requests for those questions.
Thank you.
Who will be doing the cleanup? Would it be the city or would it be the corps?
Neither. The cleanup.
Yeah, because you said to keep the park clean.
So we would, Bethel Temple, Early Readers Preschool, we would be doing the cleanup. We have a contracted small business that does for our overall facility, but we'll probably be exploring maybe a new contractor or a new company to see that. And so we'd be open if you have someone that does landscaping maintenance, we'd definitely be open to that.
Okay, from the West Fresno.
From West Fresno, yes. We'd definitely be open to that.
Okay, great. So next will be project number 11, Southwest Urban Forest Expansion for the city. All right, we'll come back to that one too. The next one will be number 12, Yosemite Village Permaculture Community Garden and Urban Farm Incubator with the Fresno Metro Ministries.
Thank you. Just for correction, it's actually Fresno Metro Ministry, so if we can get that corrected, that'd be wonderful. Ministry, not plural. So just for a reminder for everyone, this Fresno Metro Ministry, my name is Song Vang. I work for Fresno Metro Ministry, and our project is with partnership with the Fresno Housing Authority to develop a resident-led community garden and urban green space in Southwest Fresno behind the 69-unit Yosemite Village housing complex. Going down to the questions that has been asked of us, what is the component readiness status? We are actually ready to go. Site plans have been approved. That was a strenuous project and process as well, but we're now good to go. We have actually begun installing basic infrastructure, so such as irrigation has been already done. We're waiting for the weather to look a little better and to dry up a little bit before we can install the gravel access road, decomposed granite pathways. And so as for the financing structure, is it ready for implementation? Yes, we're ready and have actually made many of the purchases, as in the trees and plants that we can then begin building the garden. And the kind of help that we really need more volunteers, and we need residents from Southwest Fresno who are interested in helping build out the garden or is interested in a plot to grow their own food. And so the following question is, what are you doing to include workforce and community engagement? So we will be working very closely in partnership with the Youth Leadership Institute that will be conducting an intense community engagement process over this grant period. They will be doing door-to-door canvassing, informal presentations, tabling at community research events, and other outreach efforts that is going to be available for them as well. And so we've actually done our own outreach and have started to create an actual garden leadership committee. They were actually the one that helped us develop how the layout of the garden will be, so we've been really involved in the community currently right now. For workforce, we will be training on agricultural related occupations such as irrigation and greenhouse management. We will also have a farm stand for residents who wish to sell their products, the produce that they're actually growing at the garden. So who is the day-to-day point of contact? That will be me, Song Vang, or Kelsey McVeigh from Fresno Metro Ministry. And you guys can call us at 559-485-1416 of any input or anything that you guys would love that to include or to let us know about. Currently, we do not have any website, but we are posting up if there's any updates onto our Fresno Metro Ministries Facebook page and social media. So, yes.
Do you have guidelines? Oh, sorry. Do you have guidelines to who can have a plot and participate?
As of right now, we do not, but that is why we are building. We are looking at the Garden Leadership Committee, which is going to be built of the community members, and they will be the one who will have the say of who gets it and kind of put the stipulation. But our focus is going to be in the 93706. Yep, you're welcome.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, the park at MLK Magnet Corps in the city of Fresno. All right, we'll come back to that one too. The Inside Out Community Garden, FEOC.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Jonathan. I'm with Fresno EOC.
Hi, and I'm Nia Greer with Inside Out Community Garden.
So we're ready, but we're not ready. We still need the city to approve the CEQA, to go through the CEQA process. We need to extend our lease at Sunset Community Center. Our Streetscapes program currently operates with a lease through the City of Fresno Parks Department. And so we just need to extend it to have the contract duration match our lease. And we need the urban forester to come and approve the sites and the types of trees that we will have at that site. So in terms of readiness, those are the 3 requirements that we have yet to meet, and we will be meeting shortly upon signing the agreement. And the second component of financing, we are good to go with finances.
Hello. What are we doing to include workforce? There are no workforce components to this project, but we will be doing the community engagement, and we'll be using the children and the community that is already being fed by the Fresno Street Saints as of right now. The day-to-day point of contact will be myself. There is no website as of now, and we're working on those components. And that's about it. Any questions? Thank you for your time.
All right, the Fresno Food Commons. She'll be speaking towards the community orchard and the urban heat island mitigation, and edible food rescue and distribution. All right, we'll keep going. Next, we have the Fresno City College, West Fresno Satellite Campus.
Good evening, I'm George Cummings, and
Becky Barabee, Dean of Applied Technology, Fresno City College.
so we are bringing a satellite campus to West Fresno College. Becky is overseeing most of the programs that are coming to West Fresno campus. They will include several. Becky, why don't you list them?
So we will be doing both general education as well as career technical education programming at the new West Fresno campus, including some of those will include our advanced transportation, so automotive, auto collision, warehouse distribution, as well as in our allied health area, medical assisting, and then some of our general education programs.
Where are we? What is your components readiness status? We are ready except for DSA approval. DSA is a Division of State Architect, and as a community college, we have to get all of our projects approved through them. We will have the TCC component ready this summer to submit to DSA, and then we anticipate, hopefully by November, that we'll have final DSA approval, and that's the last box we need to check for our readiness. Our financing structure is in place. The help we could use is continue to come to our community engagement events. We've had a great turnout. The last one here was at Gaston Middle School, and where we sunshined and got community input on our elevations and renderings on the exteriors and the site plan. And we got the feedback that we received told us that we need to come back, and the water features seem to have a lot of interest, so we're developing some options that we want to present to the community and get your input on that. And then who is your day-to-day point of contact? That would be me, George Cummings. Our bond projects are all posted to our Measure C website, but as I understand from H, we will be pushing updates to the city to be included on their website as well. Any questions? Yes, ma'am.
How did you pick what is going to be offered at the campus? And then is that going to be made public so that the community sort of knows what you're offering? Because I'm assuming that it's going to be limited or different than the other campuses. And then how did you go about figuring out what you would offer at this campus?
So kind of two parts to that. In conjunction with some of the initial conversations that happened with the TCC, Fresno City College was also looking to the community through a number of community organizations and did some listening tour, if you will, through Barrios Unidos, the New Americans, and Street Saints. All three of those organizations helped us with some of our initial community listening tour, and then also our Career and Technology Center is in West Fresno area, and part of the programming that's there is going to be moving into this new center as well. So a combination of listening to what the community wanted as well as some of our needs for movement on campuses.
I just heard the how, but maybe what, right? So you're saying that's how you came up with a list, and then is what you're going to be offering going to be made available to the community? Or do you have that in place already?
That has been part of the community conversations thus far, and all of the programming that I just mentioned is what's going.
So there'll be applied auto tech.
Automotive technology, auto collision repair technology, automotive engine performance and repair, automotive collision repair, and warehouse distribution, and medical assisting. So those are the CTE programs that will be moved there, and then in addition, general education.
One more question. Yeah, I have a question. Could you please explain to me what the exact size of the college campus is going to be? Because from the very beginning to now, I keep getting information that the plan keeps changing and the campus is getting larger. So could you please clarify exactly how large the campus is going to be?
Okay, so we own approximately 39 acres. Those acres start at Walnut and run along the south side of Church. They do not reach all the way to MLK. So 39 acres is the size, and I don't anticipate that growing. So phase one of our construction plans will include approximately 110,000 square feet. Most of that is going to be housing the CTE programs, but part of that 110,000 is approximately a 30,000 square feet academic center, which will house a biology, chemistry lab, general ed classrooms, and such.
One other question, is there any residences in that area that will have to be vacated or assumed because of the college?
No, the land we purchased was vacant and clear. It was used as farmland or just undeveloped. So.
Thank you.
All right, and that'll conclude the project updates. The remaining projects are leverage only. So now I'm going to have Barbara come up, and she's going to talk more to the community engagement. Going back to that, do we have a representative from the Fresno Housing Authority? Oh, sorry. Thank you, Morgan.
Hi, yes, we have a workforce development project. Are we not supposed to also go over our readiness?
I'm sorry, let me look right now.
Yes.
The voice clap.
Oh, you do? Yeah. Okay. We'll do the Housing Authority and then this way. My apologies.
All right, good evening. Michael Duarte with the Fresno Housing Authority. Hope everybody's doing well. First question, what is your component's readiness status? And we are certainly ready to go. I think we're just down to really, we've received the sub-agreement. We're looking at that and hopefully get that approved, and then we're full steam ahead with our full construction designs and finalizing our financing. And we're tentatively targeting a construction start in the spring of 2020. And so we're really prepared for that. The next question is if our financing structure is ready. And certainly we've been working with a lot of funding partners. There's certainly some applications that are still pending, but they're pretty straightforward and generally over the counter. So it's just a matter of the PCs being ready to go for that piece. Confident financing is ready. What kind of help do we need going forward? Continued support from the city certainly is necessary, and we certainly would welcome continued community engagement through the finalizing our designs and other aspects of the project, so we certainly need that. The next question is regarding community engagement and workforce. So certainly the Housing Authority always has obligations around employing Section 3, which is low-income folks within our programs, as well as local low-income folks within the community as well. So that's always part of our focus. And part of a community engagement we intend to do is we're currently looking to build a website where we can provide updates and announce certain meetings that are coming up, and also maybe an opportunity where your folks can submit questions. So that is all in the works. In terms of our day-to-day contact, I would say that's Christine Husbands. Unfortunately, she was not able to attend tonight, but she would be our primary. You can always reach out to myself. And then our project manager is also here, Sheila Sheetram. So any one of us certainly are available. That's generally what I had, and if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer those. Thank you. Thank you.
And this is the workforce development plan.
Excuse me, under that, could you name the projects? That's the Gladiators, we're the other project, so that we can address the projects separately?
Sure.
So we've grouped them as a part of the general, but I think the community needs to hear the separation so we can clearly define each of the projects.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
They are separate. And so this one is specifically the Youth Action Project. Okay, great.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Good evening, everyone. So, as you know, and it has been mentioned, the development of the workforce plan has been scheduled for this first quarter that started, I think officially February 28th with the City Council signing off on the master agreement. Now, there are some changes that happened on last year that directly impacted our program. So first, quickly, just as a reminder, our program looks to train both individuals for employment as well as to give additional training to small businesses that will allow them to expand their small business and therefore employ more folks from our area and region. Some of the changes that happened were primarily our understanding initially of the development of the workforce plan was that all of the subject matter experts that are involved in the regional workforce development community would be brought together along with employers and the specific workforce projects to all create one plan. And that was kind of the vision that we moved through last year, kind of anticipating that. And the reason that would be very helpful and beneficial is for all of the questions that we heard here today, which is providing guidance and guidelines to all of the projects so that we can utilize and make sure that our funds are being recycled over and over and over again into our communities. So it makes sense to develop a workforce development plan that puts together workforce training programs as well as opportunities on these TCC projects as well as other projects. Now, our understanding has changed in the last couple of weeks of what this plan will actually be. And now our understanding is that the plan is simply the 2 to 4 workforce plans specifying what their scope of work is, what their project plan is, or timeline, and what their budget is. I would argument that we need a whole lot more than that to make it a sufficient workforce development project. So to get into what we need need the community to keep asking the kind of questions that you asked today, but also having these conversations with your local representatives and people at the city as we continue to do so that we can have a more robust plan that would be able to, A, assess the workforce needs of all TCC projects, B, be able to leverage the power of the city and other major players in the city to bring employers to the table, to be able to attract those employers and tell them what a benefit it would be to invest in the very communities that these dollars are supposed to go to. So as far as readiness, there's a scale of readiness with us. We have about 3 projects with 1 pretty much ready to go. We do have to submit our work plan and our budget for that. That's one of the individual plans, as well working to develop placement partnerships for our trained individuals. That has been somewhat of a challenge because we expected that the PLA that was passed a couple of years ago to really be able to help, but right now that PLA is not going to help in the way I think it was originally envisioned. And we were also expecting that the workforce development plan creation, that we would kind of do the horse before the cart here, that the creation of that plan would also help to identify pathways for placement. So what we really need your help in as well is identifying employers and identifying other TCC projects that have workforce needs. We can sit down, talk about what those needs are. Our education partners are Fresno City College, Washington Unified School District, and UC Extension. So we have folks with a long history of educating and training people in our communities that we're working with. We can work with your project to identify what your needs are and to be able to provide training to fill those needs. We have created and developed a platform for a website, but because there are so many still unanswered questions in the air, we have not put specifics on participant requirements or programs being offered until we're able to move through this 2 to 3 month period that we're in now. And the financial structure. We're a small nonprofit. So we have the financial structure in place, but we will need startup cost. I know there have been some talks that there may be, the city may be able to get low to no interest loans. I'm not sure about that. That's something we want to continue talking to folks at the city about. I've also talked to 1 or 2 people in the room today about some other loan opportunities, but one thing we must keep in mind with having a very small nonprofit is when we take out a loan, that interest cannot be paid with these TCC dollars. So we have to create another revenue stream just to be able to pay the interest on the loan to be able to start the process to implement things that will happen, that will have a benefit in our community. So we think that's an undue burden, and we really need the community to come together to encourage, a pot of funds that will help us all get started. So I'm finished, and does anyone have any questions? Thank you much.
And the Fresno Area Workforce Investment Board?
Okay, I'm going to be representing the West Force Transportation, and Bo, you did that well. One of the things, this is just my general statement, that every project here does have a workforce involvement plan as a part of what they do. If we're not employing and also dealing with the environmental justice situation here, then what are we doing? So hopefully when we develop that overall plan, that is inclusive of all projects who are here. It just makes sense to do that. So from our project, West Fresno Transportation, where we are, understanding that we need a workforce plan, so we partner with the Workforce Development Board. The local Workforce Development Board, the WIB, also has a plan of action, making sure that we're within the guidelines of the trucking companies and agencies. Is that employment that's high level? Do we need that? Is that what we're doing? So I think the Workforce Investment Board, they signed the papers today? I don't know, but I know they need to sign the documents. So what is your company's components readiness? There's a signature that is needed. Hopefully they've gotten that today or the next day or so. Is your financial structure ready for implementation? Working with the investment board, I would hope we are. What kind of help do we need? We need to continue the process and be clear about the process. We need to make sure that everything is transparent as we go along. What are you doing to include workforce and community engagement? I've just spoken about the workforce piece. Also, community engagement, not only will we be developing websites and all of that information, we also have KOFP 103.3, which is a radio station that is downtown locally in terms of where their reach is, as well as West Fresno and other areas, and we'll be working with that radio station on a regular basis, and we'll be doing outreach. Our purpose is to hire 200 trained truck drivers in low emissions trucks, as simple as that. 200 from the community and place. Any questions? The radio station is KOFP 103.3 FM, and that's one of the methods that we will be using to make sure the information gets out, and I'm sure Mr. Jamal Okawali will be willing to work with other agencies who are here to get that information and help with that community engagement piece.
I have a question. I want to say something, and I have a question.
You're not supposed to ask a question. Okay.
Firstly, those 200 truck drivers that you have, are they going to be over the road or local?
They'll be both. But truck driving in itself, you make your most money if we want to talk about families. So you make your money going over the road, but you're employed and you're living within the guidelines and the areas of the West Fresno.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to table what I was going to say.
Oh, you say it. Say it. It's part of my time. Okay. Any other questions? There we go.
Did I get them all? Okay. Community engagement plan. The partner is the U.S. Green Building Council. Hey, go.
Hi, I'm Laura Gromas with the USGBC Central California. We have a small part of the community engagement plan. Our plan is focused on bicycle education in Southwest Fresno, so we're going to reach out to all of you with opportunities for those classes. We are ready to go. We are just waiting for the contracts to be signed and for the clock to start ticking. What kind of help could we need for all of you to reach out to people that like to bike and that are interested in having bicycle education opportunities and opportunities to connect with other bikers that would like to communicate what we can do to make better conditions and safer conditions for people to bike around. I'm the day-of-day contact, and we'll have more information on the project on our website, usgbccc.org. Thank you.
All right, so now Barbara's going to come on up and talk about the community engagement portion.
I like your dress. Thank you. Hi. Okay, I'm going to read my presentation. I didn't know it was going to be this far back, but so bear with me. I'm going to read my presentation, okay, so that you can understand what I'm saying. Okay, the Transform Fresno Transformative Plan updates. The Transformative Climate Communities, TCC, grant guidelines call for participating cities to develop plans in 3 key areas of activity that will maximize the transformational impact of the Strategic Growth Council, SGC, grant investments. There are 3. 1 is community engagement, 2, displacements avoidance, 3, workforce development. Based on the recent discussions with SGC, the following updates describe how the city of Fresno, working with the Transform Fresno stakeholders, will provide these 3 plans by the end of the first quarter following the date of the full execution of the agreement. Community engagement plan. Our community engagement plan includes 2 basic components, the collaborative stakeholder structure and the community engagement plan. The collaborative stakeholder structure was approved by SGC as described in our Memorandum of Understanding, MOU, accompanying our master grant agreement, which the City Council approved on February 28, 2019. The community engagement plan will include a revised work plan and budget that will intentionally and inclusively engage our community as follows. Receive preliminary input from the community at the Transform Fresno quarterly meeting tonight, March 13, 2019. which we're doing, that will assist in drafting community engagement plan examples. An example is, how would you want to see the community engaged? What would you like to see the community, how would you want to see the community engaged? What does the community want to see in the groundbreaking plan? Do you want the consultant to go door to door through the community? Do you want a video production? Do you want TCC PowerPoint? When do we request a bid for bids? The budget over the next 5 years is $850,000. And our PowerPoint presentation also has recommended activities, if you want to read over there. A 30-day period for public review and written comments on the draft community engagement plan, and one public workshop. Members of the Outreach and Oversight Committee, along with the city staff, will participate in the interviews to select the consultant to implement the community engagement plan. Yes, we are hiring a community engagement consultant, and yes, a consultant position was included in the budget. Displaced avoidance plan. The City of Fresno will draft a displaced avoidance plan that includes 2 framing components: activities and tasks that the Transform Fresno plan is implementing, and incorporates policies. In Table 2, an example is policies to avoid the displacement of very low and low-income households. Table 3, example policies to avoid the displacement of local and small businesses as required per the TCC program guidelines. The city will release the draft plan for public review and comment for a 30-day period and coordinate an educational workshop. In addition, city staff has been working on implementing other components to meet the conditions of the master grant agreement as noted below. The City Council approved the Anti-Displacement Task Force on January 31st, 2019. The TCC Anti-Displacement Plan, the task force will be working with our plan as first order of business as a part of their plan. The downtown district is the first district the task force is looking at. They are assessing displacements that have already started that are displacing from the downtown district. People are now, the people that are leaving, they're assessing all of that. When the assessment is completed, this assessment will be made available to the public. The task force meetings will be open to the public at a scheduled times convenient for public participation. As of tonight, we do not know when their first meeting will be scheduled. City staff will draft an initial baseline report to include a thorough analysis of displacement vulnerability of both existing residents and small businesses within the Transform Fresno community area. The report will include data on residential and commercial income data, vacancies, rent burdens, lease rates, and other vulnerability indicators in the subject area to date. The report will be released to the public for a review and comment period and will be heard at the first working meeting at the task force. The anti-task force will address any negative impact. As we know or have heard, some people will be displaced. What do we do? That's why it's important for you to attend the anti-displacement task force meetings and address all of your concerns. Workforce development. Based on clarification from SGC, the Transform Fresno Workforce Development Plan includes refining the existing 4 projects that include workforce development components. These 4 projects fall into 2 categories. The 2 main workforce development projects, the Voice Gladiator program led by Youth Action Project, West Fresno Advanced Transportation Technology Training Program led by Workforce Connections, and the 2 projects that include that include workforce elements or EOC Partnership for Energy Saving, GHG Reduction in Southwest Fresno, led by Fresno EOC, and the 2 solar projects installing solar on both single-family and multifamily homes, led by Grid Alternatives. The city will work with SGC staff and all 4 workforce project partners to develop the detailed scope of work and budgets for each component for a final SGC consideration. Once refined, the city will provide a workshop open to the community to review these revised workforce development elements, as well as posting them on the Transform Fresno website. The master grant agreement requires revised work plans and budgets that have the capacity to meet the SGC workforce requirements as outlined in the TCC program guidelines, Appendix 1. It should be noted that the workforce projects have not yet met all qualifications of SGC guidelines, so they are not guaranteed until SGC approves their plan. And that is my Transform Fresno Transformative Plans updates. We do want to answer questions. However, the hour is getting late, so if all of you have questions and would like to write them on the cards, we will answer those questions and we will post them on our website, but we will answer a few questions tonight. And I'm going to ask Laura and H to come up and address any questions that you may have, if you have any questions.
All right, over here. My question is there's several questions that I want answered. One of them is, when is the displacement or non-displacement group going to start meeting? And have they been selected? And I know that's probably an answer that Spees can give us.
Okay, I just read that in the thing. It says we have a task force, avoidance, anti-avoidance, displacement avoidance group. And they have been meeting, and they even met on yesterday. And as I said, they have already started assessing the first district within Fresno, which is the downtown district. And as I stated, they are assessing people or businesses that are displacing today. Okay, they will be meeting with the public, and their meetings will be open to the public. But they have not scheduled a meeting as of yet. That force was approved on January 31st, 2019.
Okay, and how can we get a list of who's on that committee?
I guess we just have to request it.
That's public. We will post that on the TCC website.
Okay, and the second question and the final question I have is, how many people in Southwest Fresno are going to be displaced by the projects that are being developed here? Because as a resident of Southwest Fresno for over 40 years, most of the projects that I see going forward are really not helping the people in Southwest Fresno. The TCC money was supposed to be done in our census tract. However, most of the work is being done outside of that. So I personally, and that's what the little book said about saying I, not you, I personally do not see a lot of advantage being done for the people in Southwest Fresno. Thank you.
So let me just respond to that. Number one, right now there's no displacement.
Right.
Number two, there's a displacement avoidance task force that's been established by the city and the city council. That displacement avoidance task force is pardon me?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Jaime, he has a question afterwards.
Okay. That displacement avoidance task force is going to deal with the issue of displacement avoidance throughout a target area that includes the TCC target area. The displacement avoidance task force is going to start its work in April. They're going to do there's a report that's addressing exactly your question. And the question is there displacement taking place today? That report will come out in April with the first meeting of the Displacement Avoidance Task Force, and that report will be not only available to this group, but available to the public. The Displacement Avoidance Task Force for the city has also agreed to put the TCC Displacement Avoidance Plan right at the top of their agenda. And so that our plan, which is due in 3 months, will be a part of the agenda of that Displacement Avoidance Task Force. And there are representatives of the TCC target area, including Southwest Fresno, on that task force. And y'all are invited.
Yeah, all of you. No more questions?
Good evening. I want to thank you for your presentation. It was very informative, and I'm thankful for your service on the task force. My question for you just really centers around clarity. And so I guess some clarity that I would need to understand is the Displacement Avoidance Task Force is specifically internal to the city of Fresno, correct? And then the Anti-Displacement Task Force that was subsequent to council approval January 31st is the task force that is representative of community members, correct?
I don't, it's the city of Fresno, right? Yeah, he can answer that better than I can.
Okay, thank you so much, I appreciate it.
So the Anti-Displacement Task Force approved by the City Council is covering an area that's generally covered by the Southwest Specific Plan, the Fulton Corridor Specific Plan, and the Downtown Neighborhoods Plan. That's an area that's larger than the TCC program area, but it includes all of the TCC community plan area. So that those folks that have been appointed to that city task force have been approved by the City Council, and that's a matter of public record, but we will get all of you their names, and all of us are invited to those task force meetings. That task force, that anti-displacement task force, has made it their priority to address the TCC Displacement Avoidance Plan as a part of their first order of business.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Stay up here.
Couple of questions. For the community engagement, I think for the community engagement plan and the displacement avoidance plan, I think I just wanted some clarity. Because on here it's only noted that the Strategic Growth Council is voting to approve the workforce development. Is it only that plan, or are they also approving the displacement avoidance plan and the community engagement plan?
So all three of those plans are a part of our agreement with SGC, and they have to be approved by SGC. And those plans need to be to SGC within 3 months after the signing of the agreement.
Okay, good. And for the engagement portion, after the consultant is hired, it's only noted on here that there's a 30-day comment period. Is there going to be any form of public workshops or community meetings here in the area to ensure that people are properly engaged in that process, aside from tonight?
Yes, there will be an educational workshop related to the community engagement plan. The community engagement plan actually will have two parts. The first part will be the writing of the plan, and that will include community involvement. And then the second part, the bigger part, is the implementation of that plan. And the first part of the plan will determine an RFP for the engagement of a consultant to lead us in the long-term process of implementing the community engagement plan.
So in the first 3 months, it's going to be the development of the plan, correct?
Right,
and
correct.
then thereafter, it's going to be the implementation of the plan.
Perfect.
But the first part is, I think the first part that is my question is, will there be engagement in working with the consultants that are hired to create the plan itself, not implement it, but just to create the plan on how the community will be engaged.
Yes.
Okay, that's good to know. And it's just how many workshops and or public
It'd
community
be one
meetings?
educational workshop on the draft plan itself before it's submitted to SGC.
Okay. One before it's submitted to SGC?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there an opportunity to expand that outreach to ensure, like the way I would see it is, one, to engage and then provide feedback and then kind of a follow-up of, this is what we heard from you all, is this more or less correct?
Yeah, that will be this meeting in June.
Okay. That would be, but there's going to be one in between.
Right.
I just want to make sure.
Yep.
Sorry.
Yep, that's all right.
And then for the displacement avoidance plan, I think just based off of what's on here, will there be workshops in the development of the plan itself as well?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay. And so in the first 3 months, right?
Yes.
Okay. Gotcha. And I think just a clarification on the anti-displacement task force. So that task force, as is written in the downtown neighborhoods community plan and the housing element, actually only oversees those specific planning areas. So I just want to clarify, that task force will now be overseeing the whole entire TCC project area because the DNC, the Downtown Neighborhoods Community Plan, does not encapsulate the entire TCC project area.
The TCC project area is smaller than the area that's being looked at by the Displacement Avoidance Task Force.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it doesn't fully capture it. So like the Downtown Neighborhoods Community Plans only goes out as far, it doesn't reach out to the Edison High School. But the TCC project area does go far out as Edison High School. So I want to know if the Anti-Displacement Task Force is now going to be covering.
Yes.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah, in fact, the map for that target area for the Anti-Displacement Task Force, I'm sorry for this gobbledygook, you guys. I mean, this is just so boring, right? But that target area is a part of the city council agenda item that was passed on January 31st.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Wanted to make sure. And I think my last comment is around the workforce development plan. So how is it that there's several projects, including one of the biggest project, the almost $25 million Fresno Housing Authority, that is going to move forward without a workforce development plan being put first? And how are we going to ensure that those jobs are hired by like the local labor here, whether it's through the workforce development programs that were mentioned or other fountains that produce them?
So we've received clarification from SGC on this. Number one, they're going to approve our workforce development plan, but that plan is much more circumscribed and specific than what we had originally thought. That plan includes the plan for the two major workforce development projects that you've heard from tonight. Neither of those projects is approved.
Yeah.
So the approval of those projects by SGC is a very important part of the process, the major part of the process. The other two major workforce development projects that are a part of our menu of projects are the EOC Solar Project and the Grid Alternatives Project. Both of those, their workforce development components have been approved by SGC already. So that will be included in the workforce development plan. So the workforce development plan includes those 4 projects.
Yeah. So for instance, the Fresno Housing Authority project, which is going to receive, I think, $11 million is what I saw on the thing. That one is not going to require to follow the workforce development plan. I understood that.
That's
I think
what
it has its own
Right.
like set of sort of the way that it follows its local hire targeting vulnerable communities. But how are we going to ensure that those jobs, good paying construction jobs, are coming back to the community if that project is able to move forward without a workforce development plan in the first place?
That's a question that SGC should best answer. But I would say this, that the best way to ensure that those jobs, and Michael, is Michael here? Michael just left. So the best way to ensure that those jobs, that people in West Fresno and downtown and Chinatown have access to those jobs, is to work directly with the housing authority.
And just to add on to kind of, I guess, to address some of her concern and her question, I know Michael Duarte is not here, and I'm in no way representing the agency, but their Section 3 compliance through HUD is much more prescriptive than this workforce development plan is. However, I think where the rubber meets the road is how it is implemented through its specific targeting through public housing residents. And within the scope and the boundary lines of TCC, the largest inventory of public housing is in the plan area. So I think that as we continue to have these conversations, I am aware that the Housing Authority has made headway in terms of hiring a Section 3 compliance officer. And so I know that they're making some movement in that area. But just to give reassurance to those that are present and engaged in the conversation is the Section 3 is much more prescriptive.
And I think I was just using that as a specific example because it's such a large project. But I think just in general, the projects that are currently moving forward without the workforce development plan in place, like how are we guaranteeing that those jobs, even though the workforce development plan that the Strategic Growth Council has, prescribed only for those two projects and the two Gladiator and Voice programs, I think that's just more so a clarifying question that maybe we can ask SGC.
Yeah, and over the next 3 months, those 4 projects will be included in a very specific workforce development plan.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. And if you have any other questions, yes.
Hi, my name is Sean Riggins. I'm the director at the EOC Local Conservation Corps. So I just want to announce, I came in a little bit late when my colleague was up talking about the project, but all the solar that's going to be done by EOC, we're going to be hiring young people from 93706 who live in the community. Our base is in 93706. So our young people will be able to install solar on homes in the same communities that they come from. So I just wanted to put that out there. I wasn't able to add that when I came in earlier.
That is a great word, Sean. Thank you very much. This is Artie Padilla for the last item on our agenda.
I'll keep it quick. We are way running long. So if you have any follow-up questions, feel free to fill out a card. You'll notice that we put a summary of the questions that were on cards in this packet from December's meeting, so you can look through that. If you feel that question wasn't answered thoroughly enough, just submit the question again and say, hey, I would like more clarity on the question from December. So thank you guys so much for being here. We appreciate you, and thank you for grinding it out an extra 45 minutes. Have a great evening.